Welcome to the February 2025 edition of our Orion Wealth video series. February is the month of love, and as we have just finished Valentine's Day, the favorite holiday of florists, restaurants, and candy makers, we're excited to move into the next part of the month. We're here in the Central Valley. Though it has been a cold, dry winter, we have appreciated the much needed rain over the last couple of weeks. As we prepare for the trees to bloom and the bees to get busy doing their jobs, it is such a beautiful time here in the Turlock area. We so appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos each month. It is an opportunity for me to simplify and share with you what we see going on in the economy and financial markets. Well, there's been quite a bit of noise in the world over the first few weeks of President Trump's administration. From tariffs to the shutting down of decade-old agencies, there has been a sense of uncertainty and energy surrounding our 47th president. I can't say I'm surprised. One thing I mentioned as we neared the election last year is that with Trump in office, things would be much more intense and chaotic. That doesn't mean they would be good or bad. They would just have an intensity to them that we haven't seen since his last term. So how does this affect the financial markets? Well, short term, we may see some higher than normal volatility. But in the long term, the earnings of the companies in the United States and around the world determine whether the markets move up or down. We must make sure we don't get distracted with the noise and keep our eyes on your long-term goals. We have worked together to make sure we can weather these short-term storms and not all the storms negatively impact the markets. Being disciplined and focused on your goals, plans, and needs is paramount when the noise gets loud and the intensity of the media builds. The stock and bond markets had a slightly positive month for January. We're seeing an expansion in the number of companies that are seeing their stock prices rise. Something called the equal weighted measure of the S&P 500 was actually greater than the traditional market cap weighted index we track normally for the month of January. This is an encouraging sign for the health of the market. Quite a bit of the gains we have experienced over the last couple of years can be attributed to the Magnificent Seven stocks. We know them as the big tech companies. So it's important for the long-term health of the market to have this broadening trend of more companies doing well to continue throughout the year. The inflation readings are in for the month of January, and CPI, or Consumer Price Index, was up 0.5% for the month and 3% for the year. This is another slight uptick in inflation compared to what we saw in December. The main cause of the still persistent inflation for this past month was a nearly 12% increase in auto insurance and over 7% increase in the cost of airfare. Core goods, which pulls out food and energy costs, rose 0.4% for the month and are up 3.3% year over year. Rents and shelter continue to drop, but not nearly fast enough to get inflation anywhere near the Fed's 2% target. The inflation numbers for PPI, or the Producer's Price Index, were also higher than expected month to month and year over year. Prices grew by 0.4% for the month of January and are up 3.5% for the year. The core PPI numbers, which are the main inflation metrics the Fed looks at, were up 0.2% for the month and increased 2.8% for the year. Inflation continues to be stickier than hoped, which is why most economists believe we will see one, maybe two rate cuts in 2025 and no changes to interest rates until much later this year. I know I mention this every podcast, but it is so important you know you have access to the men and women managing your accounts. This year, as we have already seen the noise and energy going on in Washington, I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of the access you have to these financial professionals. You can go online to blog.ccmg.com for the latest insights from Clark Capital, or visit YouTube to watch Bulls and Bears with Herb Morgan. These investment professionals continue to provide timely information and perspective on financial news and the markets. Finally, we know it's tax time, and we're working hard to get you your tax forms in a timely manner. All 1099s will be mailed out to you no later than March 15th. A reminder for those of you who moved your accounts from Mosaic to LPL. You will receive 2 1099s this year per account, one from each custodian. Please make sure you have both for your CPA. Do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. We appreciate your trust and confidence in us and look forward to continuing to navigate your financial course.